I was beaten and crippled by the school bully. My mother, a star attorney, became the defendant's counsel. In court, her words were a masterclass in manipulation. She secured an acquittal for the boy who nearly killed me. All because his father was the benefactor who had funded her college education. When I confronted her, she was defiant. Everyone is equal before the law, Karl. I can't compromise my professional ethics just because you're the victim. Jay was just being impulsive. I couldn't bear to see his life ruined. Watching the monster who did this to me walk out of the courthouse, a free man, I laughed. I pulled the disownment papers I had already prepared from my bag and threw them in her face. Since you're so ethical, so dedicated to repaying your debts, I said, I hope you're prepared to defend what's left of your own life. My mother didn't even look at the papers. To her, this was just another teenage tantrum. Karl, have you made enough of a scene? She picked up the papers, crumpled them without a glance, and tossed them into a nearby trash can. Mr. Grant is hosting a thank you dinner at the Grandview tonight. You're coming with me. Jay will be there. It's a perfect opportunity for him to apologize to you, and we can all put this behind us. I stared at her in disbelief. Put it behind us? I was still in a wheelchair. The man who put me here had just walked free. And she wanted me to attend his victory party? I'm not going. The words were cold and final. I turned my wheelchair to leave. My mother's voice followed, tight with anger. Karl. Can you stop being so petty? The Grants aren't well off. This dinner cost Mr. Grant half a month's salary. If you don't go, you're disrespecting me, and you're disrespecting him. I didn't look back. I wheeled myself away as fast as I could, escaping the suffocating presence of the courthouse. Outside, the bright sun made me dizzy. My father's car was parked by the curb. He saw me and hurried over, his face a mask of nervous deference. Karl, how did it go? Did they sentence him? Looking at this man, a doormat his entire life, I felt a wave of helplessness. He was acquitted. Not guilty. My father stood there, mouth agape, speechless. How could? Your mother said it was just a formality. She said she'd get Jay a suspended sentence. How could he be acquitted? I let out a bitter laugh. Dad, your wife is a star attorney. If she wants someone to walk, they walk. Even if that person broke her own son's leg. My father wrung his hands, his anxiety palpable. But, she must have her reasons. That man, Mr. Grant, he really did help her. Enough, I cut him off. Take me to the hospital. I'm not going home. My father hesitated, glancing back at the courthouse entrance. Well, your mother just texted. She said we should go straight to the Grandview. She said if we don't, she'll cancel my credit card. I looked at the man before me. 50 years old, and he lived like a dog. My mother controlled every penny. He didn't even dare to raise his voice. Then you can go. I took out my phone and ordered a wheelchair-accessible rideshare. I'll go by myself. Karl. Don't be like this. My father reached for me, but I shook him off. Dad, if you still consider me your son, don't go to that dinner. If you go, then don't bother visiting me ever again. The car arrived. The driver helped me get in. Through the window, I saw my father standing on the sidewalk, torn. Finally, he sighed, turned, and got into his own car. He drove in the direction of the Grandview. I closed my eyes, and the tears finally came. This was my family. A mother with a twisted martyr complex, and a weak, spineless father. And I was the disposable sacrifice. At the hospital, as soon as I got settled, my phone started buzzing. Jay had posted a 9-photo collage on social media. In the pictures, he was holding a glass of champagne, his face flushed with victory. My mother sat at the head of the table, smiling with serene elegance. The caption read, "Thanks, Aunt Susan. Justice may be delayed, but it is never denied. Cheers." Justice? To hell with his justice. I opened the comments. They were filled with fawning praise from Jay's cronies. Jay is the man. Susan is a legal legend. Where's the cripple? Didn't he show up to toast you? Jay's reply, probably crying at home, ha ha ha. I stared at the screen, my fingers trembling. Suddenly, a new notification popped up. A money transfer from my mother. Amount, $300. Note, stop sulking. Buy yourself something nice to eat. I told Mr. Grant he doesn't have to pay your medical bills. They're having a tough time, we need to be understanding. I stared at the words, my stomach churning. I wanted to vomit. I threw the phone against the wall. I was in the hospital for 3 days. My mother never visited. But Mr. Grant did, carrying a basket of bruised, rotting apples. He stood at the door in his dusty work clothes, a folksy grin on his face. Karl, my boy. Uncle's here to see you. He placed the apples on the nightstand and rubbed his calloused hands together. My Jay, he doesn't know his own strength. A bit rough. I gave him a good talking to. And look, your mom got him off the hook. So we're even now, right? Even? I looked at the basket of apples, probably salvaged from a dumpster, and laughed. My leg is worth a basket of rotten apples? Mr. Grant's expression flickered, but he quickly pasted the smile back on. Now, Karl, don't talk like that. When your mom went to college, I scraped that money together, penny by penny. You gotta have a conscience. Look how sensible your mother is. Besides, your family's loaded. You're not hurting for a little medical money, are you? My Jay needs to get married. He can't be saddled with debt. In that moment, I finally understood the meaning of shameless. This family was a pack of vampires. And my mother was the fool who not only offered them her neck but complained that they weren't drinking fast enough. Get out, I said, pointing to the door. Take your rotten apples and get out. The smile finally slid off Mr. Grant's face. What's with the attitude, kid? No wonder Jay beat you up. You're asking for it. He stalked out, muttering curses, and spat on the floor on his way out. I pressed the call button for the nurse and asked someone to disinfect the room. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. That afternoon, the head nurse came in with a bill. She didn't look happy. Karl, your account is overdue. If you don't make a payment, we'll have to stop your medication. I was stunned. Overdue? My mother. Susan Cole didn't pay? The nurse shook her head. Ms. Cole was here yesterday. She requested a refund of the $50,000 deposit. She said the other family was in financial trouble, and she was lending them the money to help out. She said you'd have to figure it out yourself. Crack. The last thread of my sanity snapped. She refunded my life-saving medical deposit to give to the man who assaulted me? Is that something a mother does? With trembling hands, I borrowed the nurse's phone and called her. It rang for a long time before she picked up. I could hear the clatter of mahjong tiles and my mother's cheerful laughter in the background. Hello? Who's this? It's me. The line went quiet for a moment. Then, her voice, laced with annoyance. Karl? Where's your phone? Why are you calling from a strange number? Susan, did you refund my medical deposit? I used her first name. Is that any way to talk to your mother? She snapped, her voice rising. The Grants are buying a house in the city and we're a little short on the down payment. I figured you weren't spending much in the hospital, so I let them use it for now. Don't you have your own savings? Use that. You can't be so selfish. You have to help people in need. Help people in need? She was breaking my bones to keep someone else warm. That was my surgery money. I roared into the phone. The doctor said I need a second reconstructive surgery next week, or I'll be permanently disabled. You gave that money to the Grants to buy a house? Are you insane? I could hear Mr. Grant's voice in the background. Oh, Susan, if Karl needs it urgently, we can wait on the house. Then my mother's firm reply. Don't listen to him, Mr. Grant. He's just being dramatic. Doctors always exaggerate. It's not that serious. Buying a house is a big deal. Jay is about to start dating. How can he do that without a house? Karl, figure it out yourself. Stop bothering me. Beep, beep, beep. She hung up. I stood there, phone in hand, frozen. The head nurse looked at me with pity. Karl, maybe you should call your father? My father? The man who had to ask his wife for cigarette money? I shook my head. No, don't worry about it. Please, just process my discharge papers. But your leg? I'm not getting it fixed. If the world was this rotten, then I didn't need to pretend to be the good son anymore. I went home one last time. While no one was there, I packed up everything that was mine. I left nothing but the disownment papers. My sneaker collection, my limited edition figures, the gold bars I'd been saving since I was a child. I sold it all on second-hand marketplaces. Deep discounts. Cash only. With that money, I rented a small, accessible apartment in the next city over. Then I checked myself into a private orthopedic hospital. I'd missed the optimal window for treatment, but the doctor said that with enough money, there was still hope I could walk normally again. But no more intense physical activity. I used to be the captain of the school basketball team. Now, I was a cripple who couldn't even walk without a limp. But I didn't cry. I had run out of tears that afternoon. For 3 years, I was a ghost. I lived in a city 2 hours away, in a ground floor apartment that smelled of damp concrete and antiseptic. My world shrank to the 4 walls of my room and the grueling, tear-inducing hours at the rehab clinic. I changed my number. I deleted my social media. I became Karl, the quiet guy who works remote tech support. No one knew I was the son of the famous attorney Susan Cole. No one knew I was the boy whose leg was shattered by a bully his own mother defended. Rehab was hell. Every step was a negotiation with pain. But pain was clarifying. It burned away the last vestiges of hope I had for my family. I kept tabs on them, though. A masochistic habit. Susan Cole was still a star. She was featured in legal magazines, lauded for her compassionate approach to justice. There was even a puff piece about her lifelong friendship with the Grant family, complete with a photo of her beaming next to Jay at his wedding. Yes, Jay got married. In the house my surgery money paid for. The bride looked young, naive. I wondered if she knew her husband had crippled a man and laughed about it. My father was absent from the photos. I heard rumors he had started drinking heavily. Susan probably just increased his allowance to keep him quiet. I focused on my work. I was good with computers. I started freelancing for cybersecurity firms, hunting bugs, patching holes. It paid well. Better than well. By the time I could walk without a cane, albeit with a permanent, noticeable limp, I had a substantial nest egg. I wasn't just saving money. I was saving evidence. I had hacked Jay's social media accounts. I had access to Mr. Grant's emails. And, most importantly, I had a backdoor into my mother's firm server. I wasn't ready to strike yet. Revenge is a dish best served cold, and I wanted mine absolute zero. Then, the opportunity knocked. Or rather, it crashed. I was scrolling through the local news one evening when a headline caught my eye: fatal hit and run on River Road, suspect vehicle identified as gray SUV. The article included a grainy CCTV image. I knew that SUV. It was the graduation gift my mother had bought for Jay Grant. I dug deeper. The victim was a 22-year-old girl, a nursing student working 2 jobs. She died on impact. The driver fled the scene. The police were investigating, but no arrests had been made. I logged into the traffic camera database, a trick I learned from a Grey Hat hacker forum. I tracked the SUV's movements that night. It left a bar at 1:30 a.m. Jay was driving. I could see his face clearly in the street lights. He was drunk, swerving. Beside him sat a woman who wasn't his wife. The accident happened at 1:45 a.m. At 2:15 a.m., the car pulled into a secluded garage owned by Mr. Grant. At 3 a.m., my mother's phone pinged a cell tower near that garage. She was helping them cover it up. Again. This time, it wasn't assault. It was vehicular manslaughter. I felt a cold, predatory smile spread across my face. I spent the next week compiling everything. The footage. The GPS data. The text messages between Jay and his father. Dad, I hit something. Help me. The wire transfers from my mother to a shady auto body shop known for, no questions asked, repairs. I had enough to bury them. But I didn't go to the police. Not yet. The police in my hometown were friendly with Susan Cole. Evidence had a way of disappearing. No. I needed a bigger stage. I remembered the date. Susan was receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award from the State Bar Association next week. It was a black tie gala, televised, attended by judges, politicians, and the press. It was perfect. I bought a ticket. It cost $2,000. A small price for the end of the world. I rented a tuxedo that hid the brace on my leg. I shaved the beard I'd grown. I looked in the mirror. I looked like Karl Cole, the golden boy. But the eyes were different. They were dead. The ballroom was glittering. Crystal chandeliers, champagne towers, the hum of self-congratulatory conversation. I saw my mother immediately. She was wearing a red gown, holding court near the stage. Jay was there, too, looking nervous, sweating in his suit. Mr. Grant was stuffing shrimp into his pockets at the buffet. My father was sitting alone at a table in the back, staring into a whiskey glass. He looked 20 years older. Gray, shrunken. I walked up to him. Dad. He looked up, his eyes unfocused. It took him a moment to recognize me. Karl? He stood up, knocking his chair over. Karl. My God, son. You're walking. Barely, I said. Where have you been? Your mother said you went to Europe to study. She said. She lied, I cut him off. I've been 2 hours away, learning how to walk again. Tears welled up in his eyes. I missed you. I tried to call, but your number changed. She wouldn't tell me. Sit down, Dad. The show is about to start. Karl, don't cause a scene, he whispered, terrified. This is her big night. I know. That's why I'm here. I walked away from him and headed toward the AV booth. The technician was a young guy, bored out of his mind. Hey, I said, flashing a charming smile. I'm Susan Cole's son. She wanted me to give you this thumb drive. It has a special tribute video for her speech. A surprise from the family. He shrugged. Sure thing. When do you want it played? Right when she accepts the award. You got it. I slipped him $100 bill. Thanks. I made my way to the front of the room, finding an empty spot near the stage. The master of ceremonies took the mic. And now, for our final award of the evening. The Pillar of Justice Award goes to a woman who embodies integrity, compassion, and the relentless pursuit of truth. Please welcome, Susan Cole. Thunderous applause. Susan walked up the steps, beaming. She took the crystal trophy, wiped a fake tear from her eye, and leaned into the microphone. Thank you. This means the world to me. I have always believed that the law is a shield for the weak, a voice for the voiceless. The screen behind her flickered. The technician cued the video. The room went dark, focusing attention on the massive projection screen. A video started playing. But it wasn't a montage of her court victories. It was grainy, night vision footage. A gray SUV slamming into a young woman. The body flying through the air. The car speeding away without braking. The audience gasped. A murmur of confusion rippled through the room. Susan froze, turning around to look at the screen. Her smile faltered. The video cut to the garage. Jay Grant stumbling out of the driver's seat, inspecting the dented bumper with blood on it. Mr. Grant wiping it down with bleach. Then, a recording of a phone call played over the speakers. My mother's voice, unmistakable. Jay, listen to me. Don't say a word to anyone. I've handled the police chief. The car is being scrapped tomorrow. You were home all night. Do you understand? But Aunt Susan, I think she's dead. She's dead because she was in the way. Stop crying. Do you want to go to prison? I paid for your life, Jay. Don't throw it away. The silence in the ballroom was absolute. It was heavy, suffocating. Then, the text messages started scrolling. The bank transfers. The bribes. And finally, a medical report. Karl Cole. Comminuted fracture of the tibia and fibula. Permanent nerve damage. Surgery deposit refunded by Susan Cole. Susan dropped the trophy. It shattered on the stage, the sound echoing like a gunshot. Turn it off, she screamed, her voice shrill and panicked. Turn it off. It's fake. It's AI. But the technician was locked out. I had encrypted the file to loop for 5 minutes. Jay tried to run. He bolted for the exit, knocking over a waiter. But 2 off-duty police officers who were providing security grabbed him. I stepped out from the shadows. Hello, Mother. She looked down at me from the stage. Her face was pale as a sheet. Karl, she whispered. You did this? Everyone is equal before the law, right? I quoted her own words back to her. I couldn't compromise my ethics just because you're my mother. Flashbulbs started popping. The press was having a field day. You ungrateful brat. Mr. Grant roared, charging at me from the side. After everything she did for you. I didn't flinch. I just pointed my cane at him. Touch me, and I'll add assault on a disabled person to your list of charges. You're already looking at accessory to manslaughter and obstruction of justice. He froze. I looked back at my mother. She was trembling. Her career, her reputation, her carefully constructed facade of moral superiority, it was all ash. Why, she sobbed. I'm your mother. No, I said loudly, so the whole room could hear. You were my mother until you sold my leg to buy him a house. You were my mother until you let a killer walk free because his dad paid for your tuition 30 years ago. I turned to the crowd. Enjoy the rest of the evening. I walked out. This time, I didn't run. I walked slowly, my cane clicking rhythmically on the marble floor. It was the sweetest sound I had ever heard. The aftermath was a nuclear winter for the Cole and Grant families. The evidence was irrefutable. The public outrage was immense. The police chief Susan had handled was forced to resign and faced his own indictment. Jay was arrested that night. He cried like a baby in the back of the cruiser. Susan was disbarred within a week. Her assets were frozen pending the investigation into the bribery and money laundering she had used to cover Jay's crimes. Mr. Grant tried to flee the state but was caught at a bus station. And my father? He filed for divorce. He showed up at my apartment a month later. He had a suitcase. I left her, he said. I testified. Told them everything I knew about the money transfers. I let him in. We drank coffee in silence. I'm sorry, he said eventually. I was a coward. Yes, I said. You were. Can I stay here for a bit? Until I find a place? I looked at him. He was pathetic, weak, and late. But he was the only one who hadn't actively tried to destroy me. The couch pulls out, I said. It wasn't forgiveness. But it was a start. 3 months later. The trial was the event of the year. I sat in the front row. Susan sat at the defense table, but she wasn't the lawyer this time. She looked small in her prison jumpsuit. Her hair was gray and unkempt. Jay got 15 years for vehicular manslaughter and leaving the scene. Mr. Grant got 8 years for obstruction. Susan got 12 years. Corruption, bribery, accessory after the fact. When the judge read the sentence, she looked at me. Her eyes were pleading. She mouthed, "Help me." I looked at her. I remembered the hospital room. The nurse telling me the money was gone. The pain in my leg that kept me awake every night. I smiled. A small, polite smile. And I turned my back on her. 5 years passed. I built a life. I started my own cybersecurity firm. I bought a house with no stairs. I even started dating a woman named Sarah, a physical therapist who understood why I flinched when people moved too fast. I was happy. Or as happy as I could be. One rainy Tuesday, I was leaving a coffee shop when I saw a homeless man digging through the trash can. He looked familiar. It was Mr. Grant. He had been released early on parole due to overcrowding and health issues. He looked up and saw me. His eyes widened. He looked at my expensive coat, my car parked nearby. Then he looked at his own filthy hands. "Karl," he croaked. I stopped. "Karl, please. I'm hungry." Jay is still inside. His wife divorced him. Took everything. I have nowhere to go. He stepped toward me, hand out. Just a few dollars. For old time's sake? Your mother, she helped me. You should help me. The audacity was breathtaking. Even now, in the gutter, he felt entitled to my help because of my mother's debt. I reached into my pocket. Mr. Grant's eyes lit up. I pulled out a single, crisp dollar bill. Here, I said. He grabbed it. Thank you. Wait, I said. I have something else for you. I reached into my car and pulled out a basket of apples I had just bought from the farmer's market. They were fresh, red, perfect. I dumped them on the wet pavement. They rolled into the gutter, mixing with the muddy water. There, I said. Now we're even. Mr. Grant stared at the apples and the mud. Then he looked at me with pure hatred. You're cruel, he spat. Just like your mother. I laughed. It was a genuine laugh. No, Mr. Grant. My mother would have picked those apples up, polished them, and told the world she was feeding the poor while she picked your pocket. I'm just giving you exactly what you gave me. I got in my car and drove away. A year later, a letter arrived from the state penitentiary. It was from Susan. My dearest son. I am dying. Cancer. The prison doctors say I have a few months left. I have had a lot of time to think in here. I realize now that I made mistakes. I was so obsessed with being a good person to the world, to the Grants, that I forgot to be a good mother to you. I know you hate me. You have every right to. But I am scared, Karl. I am scared to die alone in this cage. Please come visit me. Just once. I want to see your face. I want to tell you I love you. Please. Mom. I read the letter 3 times. I thought about the mother who used to read me bedtime stories before Mr. Grant came back into her life. I thought about the mother who taught me to tie my shoes. Then I thought about the mother who threw my disownment papers in the trash. The mother who chose a murderer over her crippled son. I took a piece of paper and a pen. To inmate 8940. Everyone is equal before the death, Susan. I can't compromise my emotional well-being just because you're dying. You were just being impulsive when you destroyed my life. I can't bear to see my peace ruined by visiting you. Goodbye. Karl. I mailed the letter. When she died 2 months later, I didn't go to the funeral. My father went. He cried. He was a softer man than I was. I stayed home. I played basketball in the driveway with my neighbor's kid. I couldn't run, but I could still shoot. The ball swished through the net. Nothing but net. The sun was shining. My leg didn't hurt. For the first time in my life, I was truly free. Epilogue. Years later, I was cleaning out the attic of my father's house after he passed away peacefully in his sleep. I found an old box labeled Susan's college stuff. Curiosity got the better of me. I opened it. Inside were old textbooks, photos, and a diary. I opened the diary to the year she graduated. May 12, 1995. Mr. Grant came by today. He said he needs the money back. All of it. With interest. He said if I don't pay him, he'll tell everyone about the accident. I didn't mean to hurt that boy. I was drunk. Mr. Grant helped me hide the body. He said he'd take care of it if I owed him a favor. A life for a life. I own him my soul now. I will spend the rest of my life paying for this. I dropped the diary. The dust motes danced in the light coming through the window. It wasn't about tuition. It wasn't about gratitude. It was blackmail. Mr. Grant hadn't funded her education out of kindness. He had helped her cover up a hit and run when she was in college. And he had held it over her head for 30 years. She defended Jay not because of ethics, but because if she didn't, Mr. Grant would destroy her. She sacrificed me to keep her own dark secret buried. She was never a star attorney with a heart of gold. She was a criminal being extorted by another criminal. And I was the collateral damage of a 30-year-old crime. I looked at the diary. I could burn it. I could let the secret die with them. But then I remembered the girl Jay killed. I remembered my leg. I took the diary to the police station. They reopened a cold case from 1995. They found the remains where the diary said they would be. Even in death, Susan Cole made headlines one last time. Star attorney revealed as killer, the secret life of Susan Cole. I stood by her grave the day the news broke. Someone had spray-painted murderer on her headstone. Well, Mom, I whispered. You always said the truth comes out eventually. I placed a single white flower on the grave. Not for her. But for the boy she killed in 1995. Then I turned and walked away, leaving the dead to bury the dead. The end.